believe we will get started. I'll call to order. Mr. Shannon, Commissioner Shannon is with us, and Judge Farrar Campbell has also joined us this morning, and we hope she's able to participate for the entire meeting. So are there any additions or revisions to the agenda?
I do not have any.
None here.
None here either. Correspondence. Individual wishing to address the county court may do so at this time and at other times throughout the meeting. Speakers are asked to raise your hand to be recognized by the chair, give your name and address, and limit comments to 3 minutes for those wanting to participate in public comment. We did have correspondence. Pat, did you want to give us a rundown on this letter from Baker, Grant, Harney, Klamath, Lake, Malheur local public health administrators that you presented?
Yeah, I don't know if it'd be easier to read it or try to explain it. I think I'm going to read it because it really gets, I'll miss some details, and it's, I think I'll just read it. But
Okay.
Ms. Banks, on behalf of 6 rural Oregon counties, Baker, Grant, Harney, Klamath, Lake, and Malheur, we ask for your consideration of unique realities and hope to work together to respond to the next phase of COVID-19 pandemic together. Our geographic areas are affected by the COVID-19 restrictions different than more urban areas. While COVID-19 has brought hardships to our whole state, the sweeping impact of the extreme risk category for 80% of counties has significantly different implications to rural counties than in more densely populated ones. While Grant, Harney, and Lake counties are currently avoiding the extreme risk category, we are concerned that because of such low populations, a small number of cases would catapult the incident rate. While the counties could effectively respond to more cases, the result would be that they could be in an extreme risk category quickly, even with just a large single family or single small business outbreak. For example, Baker County is an extreme risk with 72 cases over 2 weeks with a geographic area of more than 3,000 square miles. Malheur County has 204 cases over 2 weeks with 10,000 square miles. No matter if you are a small cafe in Juntera, more than 70 miles from Ontario, the population center of Malheur County, the impact of the extreme risk category threatens to put you out of business. Each of our counties has heard personal accounts of businesses who have lost nearly everything, and they are pleading with our health departments to allow them to open carefully under significant reduced capacity. In addition, many of our rural counties rely heavily on the BINAC's Now antigen tests to expand testing availability. Currently, our efforts to improve test positivity rates and report improvements are stymied because the results, electronic case records, are not being included in the state report of county metrics. Either positivity or case rates can push a community into a higher risk level. We understand that we are weeks away from the inclusion of these antigen tests in the reporting and are uncertain if they will be calculated for prior weeks. Not incorporating the antigen negative results has created inaccurate data at a time when our communities are laser focused on data published at local and state level. Holding us to metrics that are not comprehensively calculated is problematic. We understand the risk categories were meant to have more local response, but because the metrics were set so low, even counties with a manageable number of cases are being lumped together in what many people are calling extreme freeze or extreme shutdown. We applaud Governor Brown's decision last week to close deliberation, after close deliberation with the Oregon Health Authority, to allow schools to reopen under the Ready Schools, Safe Learners blueprints. And with guidance from their local public health authorities, we are asking for the same reasoning and practice to apply to risk categories. Our proposal is to change the top category determined by the state from extreme risk to high risk, and to allow LPHAs to determine capacity and enact the extreme risk framework when appropriate. Several of our represented LPHAs believe the extreme risk measures have been helpful and necessary at times, depending on the LPHA capacity to case investigate, report, and respond, and increased testing, isolation, and contact tracing. The need is determined by hospital capacity and the nature of outbreaks, such as isolated events versus community spread. The need is also determined. The determination should be made by the LPHA and will serve to build trust in an appropriate use of orders to protect the health and safety of our communities at the local level. We hope this will open a dialogue and raise the unique concerns of rural Oregon counties to you in your new role representing all public health and Oregon Health Authority. We have a scheduled meeting on Wednesday, December 30th at 9, blah, blah, blah. PST, you are welcome to join, or we are happy to find a time that works best for your schedule as soon as possible. We're also communicating with our elected officials with that same proposal. Basically, I was on the Eastern Oregon County Caucus call, have been getting on there for the last month or better. And this letter was brought up, and they're asking if any other counties would like to get their names on this letter. And of course, it really goes to your, local public health administration, which means North Central Health Public for us. And so I just wanted to get it out there. I do have my first board meeting with them next Tuesday, so I will bring it up with them. Anyhow, that was something I got out of the call yesterday morning.
Do you know if they'd heard anything back from the governor, or if there's been any response?
I don't believe so at this point.
Okay. All right, thank you. Did we have any other correspondence? I see none in our packet. Consent agenda. Are there any additions, corrections, or concerns with the consent agenda?
I don't know that I can vote on the consent agenda with the minutes from the last meeting in there. I'm not sure about that.
I'm not sure either, but I guess somebody's got to approve them, right? Elizabeth wasn't there either, but.
Yeah, I mean, Pat, if you're comfortable, I would move to approve the consent agenda.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
You second? Is that a second?
I second. I guess I can.
Well, I think we have to. I don't think we have a choice at this point. It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda, which consists of consider approval of December 28th regular meeting minutes, consider approval of December bills pending review, consider approval of intergovernmental agreement with Sherman County qualifying Gilliam County Tax Assessor as an independent appraiser for the Board of Property Appeals, consider approval of intergovernmental agreement with Morrow County qualifying Gilliam County Tax Assessor as an independent appraiser for Board of Property Tax Appeals. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Old business, discussion and possible action on proposed red zone designation.
Before we start, I would like to announce a potential conflict of interest. I've talked to the Ethics Commission twice now, once for some guidance and again for clarification. And as you all know, I have a couple of businesses in the county that could potentially have increased business and would, and most businesses in the county would be in the same category, that anything that comes into the county could potentially add additional business. There's no guarantee that you do get the additional business, but the potential is there. And my decision as a member of the court will be based, it will not be biased, and will be based on what's good for the county in the short term, in the long term, with some emphasis on the long term.
Okay, thank you, Pat. That being said, we are again looking at the proposed resolution to accept a red zone for the entirety of Gilliam County. We have gone through the process as necessary. We notified the taxing districts that this was being considered. We held a comment meeting in the time frame that was designated. The letters went out 21 days prior to having our meeting on December 28th, which was not required to have a decision at that time. And at that time, the resolution actually hadn't been finalized yet. And we wanted to make sure we had all of that in order before we discussed it any further. In our key facts and findings, after completing the process, most of the commentary that we received was positive support for adopting the red zone. We did hear from Jeff Schott outside of the comment meeting as a member of the South Gilliam Fire District and North Central ESD, discussing his reservations. He did say that if we were to go ahead, that he would be in favor of having the red zone only for a 3-year period and not for the additional years 4 and 5. So is there any further discussion?
I had a question or two. I'm wondering did we ever figure out on the $250 million cap, is that for the entire county? Is that per project, or just, because I think we had talked about between the two projects Avangrid was looking at, that would probably max out that $250 million. And I was just curious if we had ever gotten clarity on that piece.
Sherry, if I remember, Elizabeth, if I remember right, the Avangrid project was 160 million, and it is 250 million. The other would be 90 million would still be available.
Yeah. From what I gleaned from the treasurer and the assessor in a conversation this week is that the 250 million is not per project, but per to cover the entire county. Yeah, but not per project, but for all projects that may come up.
Anybody that would come in and apply for up to the 250 million.
Right, that would be
and there is some indication you can reset that in another, I don't know, there's another red zone, or I don't know how that works, but you can, once you exhaust that, you're not necessarily done.
I believe that's correct. And then the 3 years on automatic, sorry, I'm just trying to get caught back up with my maternity brain, but the 3 years in automatic, it's for year 4 and 5 that they would have to come to the county court and negotiate if they wanted year 4 and 5. Is that, am I remembering that correctly?
My understanding is they will have to apply, and they probably would make that request in their application, which then would have to be approved by the court. And there could be some negotiations in that on how that would look.
I believe that is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, at this point, if we adopt the resolution, then it goes back to Business Oregon, and then they determine whether the projects that are interested in utilizing the red zone are qualified if they meet the requirements. So that, yeah, because that's not really for us to decide if they meet the requirements. Once we set the red zone, then that's up to Business Oregon. Do you agree with that, Mr. Shannon?
Yes, I do.
Do we have any other discussion or questions?
The only other thing that I saw that I thought we might want to talk about is just who is designated as the manager. And I wasn't sure if we wanted to make that the county court's responsibility or even my responsibility as the judge. I'm just wondering if maybe we want to have a discussion about whether planning is the best place to put that or not. or what your
There-
thoughts were on selecting the planning department.
There are two places to designate, and I had a discussion with, now let's see if I can find this is it right here. I hope that's it. That is not it. We can determine, and if we don't want the planning commission director to be, or the planning director to be that, and the other one is who is administering it. Now, I don't know why I don't have that. Hang on a second here. I don't have all my folders in front of me. Give me a second. Find my folder. That we designate someone from the county, and I had inserted the Gilliam County Court to make it broad enough that we could all weigh in on that. But Laura said we needed to designate someone specifically, which I think that if it's the judge, I think that is what we need to do. Hang on here, I got to go find that.
Yeah, I didn't see that in any of the correspondence that I'd seen, but I would think of why couldn't it be the court as a whole? What is the reasoning?
On number 3, there's a blank. It says, and it's asking for a specific person to be authorized to submit the request. And then under number 4, designating the in the capacity of the local zone manager. And we could make that the entire court if that's what we wanted to do, Gilliam County Court, as opposed to Gilliam County Planning Director. And then we also have to decide who is going to be that other designee authorized to submit the request if we adopt the resolution.
Well, my recommendation, since you're running the deal, that you would be the submitter and the court would be the manager.
I'm comfortable with that.
Okay, all right. That sounds good to me too. I like that. Do we have a motion to adopt or are we just going to let it go?
I would make a motion to, did you have it in here? I
Yes.
would make a motion to adopt the resolution number R202. Am I on the right one? Yeah. -01, establishing a rural renewable energy development zone to be presented to the Director of Oregon Business Development Department for acceptance.
And let's clarify and add with Sherry Wilkins, Commissioner, authorized to submit the request, and Gilliam County Court in the capacity of the local zone manager.
Yes.
Okay. Let me get back to you people. Hello, come back, people. There you are. Okay, it has been, and I second that. It has been moved to adopt resolution number R 2021-01, establishing a rural renewable energy development zone to be presented to the Director of Oregon Business Development Department for acceptance, with Sherry Wilkins, Commissioner, authorized to submit the application, and Gilliam County Court designated as the capacity of the local zone manager for the red zone. Is there further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
I'm opposed.
Okay. The motion carries, showing Commissioner Shannon, Commissioner Wilkins voting aye, and Judge Farrar Campbell voting no. Okay, thank you, everyone. 5.2, discussion of Omega Morgan revised lease for Shuttler Station Industrial Park. Omega Morgan is bringing in materials for another project in another county. And they are wanting to use almost all of the property available to them at Shuttler Station. However, their materials have been delayed in production, and so they wanted to change their lease again to drop what they're not using and pick it up again when they need it. So if we're amenable to that, then we would need to have the lease amended again.
I had a question on the summary for the
Okay.
item briefing, in that it said the south side of Highway 19. And in my mind, Highway 19 runs eastern or north and south, so it would have to be on the west or east side. I'm assuming that's the property on the east side, but I see in their communication with you and Teresa that they put south side on there too.
Oh, then we believe them. Well, see, I'm very directionally challenged, so, but you are correct.
They are talking about that portion over there on the east side, aren't they?
Right, without any utilities or infrastructure, just the lot. So yeah, that is what they're looking at. So if there aren't any objections, we'll amend the lease and have that done, drafted, and bring it back to the court for approval. Did you have any questions, Elizabeth?
No, that sounds great.
Okay. 6.1, discussion and clarification on Gilliam County Committee appointment process.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Wilkins.
Yes.
On the Omega Morgan revised lease,
Yes.
who Judge Farrar usually handles all the amendments. So who is going to be tasked with that?
Well, I guess that would be me.
Okay. Thank you.
I would be happy to do that.
All right.
With your support, of course.
Of course. Thank you.
Thanks, Sherry, for taking it on.
You're welcome. When it's been fun, but I'm ready for you to come back. 6.1, discussion and clarification on Gilliam County Committee appointment process. At the December 28th meeting, our agenda had or actually it was in the consent agenda, I believe, to appoint a volunteer to the Planning Commission. And we had several people show some concern. One of them was Mr. Ruark, about the process in that, and that we should slow down. We decided we needed to step back and take a look at that process. And what we have determined is that the process has no faults, and that if we are ready to appoint someone, we do need at least a 5-member board. And at this time, we only have 4 appointees. So we do need to fill that vacancy so that the Planning Commission can do their business. And they are looking at having a meeting in January. So it would be in our best interest to fulfill that. Did you have any questions, Mr. Shannon or Ms. Farrar?
No, I mean, I think with anything, there's always room for improvement. I saw Les's email, but I wasn't sure if he had specifics that he was suggesting in future. But I think this has been a process that all of the previous courts have used, just having people submit letters. You know, it's hard enough to get people to serve. And so I would just want us to be cautious about throwing up too many roadblocks to people who want to raise their hands for this work, especially the Planning Commission, because that's a pretty heavy lift on that commission in particular. And so when we get good people who are willing to volunteer, I think I think it's in the county's best interest to not throw up too many roadblocks for them to be able to do so.
I agree with that totally.
I agree. I guess I just wonder a little bit in process, nothing to do with this particular appointment, but what is reviewed or has been in the past on responsibility and requirements, and how do they fit that position, or do we just move on because they happen to be the only one that submitted? And then have we checked with any other organizations or courts or whatever that are about our size and what their process is, so we have something to compare to?
I don't have an answer to either one of those questions.
I would say for some of the committees, like the Planning Commission, for instance, statute is pretty clear on who's eligible to serve. And so where statute is clear, we try to make sure that when we post that, we're clear about what those requirements are. For a lot of our other committees, there's not really anything in statute or anything previous courts have set that says these are sort of the minimum requirements. So it may be something long-term that we want to look at in terms of just for even recruiting people, is looking at those different commissions and boards and actually maybe not necessarily writing up a job description, but kind of like a description of here's sort of the expectation, here's how often the committee meets and things like that. I definitely think that would be an area maybe we could look at sort of fleshing out further, because I do know with some of these committees, it does take actually going out and suggesting to people, hey, have you ever thought about putting your name in? It would be helpful to have something to give to them to say, here's what this committee does, so people have a better sense. That being said, I don't think that it would necessarily hold up this particular Planning Commission appointment, because I think the individual who submitted their name is aware of what the Planning Commission does. But for other commissions and boards, I think that maybe is something that we could dive into and flesh out a little bit more. And I do know in other, some other counties do have an actual application. And so whether we wanted to have something more formal for people to fill out rather than just a, one-line email to Teresa, that's definitely something we could look at doing as well, if we wanted to make that a more formal sort of process.
Yeah, I think those are both really good ideas of having some kind of little packet that says this is what a Planning Commission board member does, and this is what our expectations are, and this is the application to, and make it a little bit more formal. I don't want to run anybody off, but yeah, I think that would be a good process for us.
Well, I agree. I had a thought and lost it just about that quick.
You're 67.
I know. Well, maybe I'll think of it in a minute. But yeah, I agree. I think that's a good plan going forward. I know what it was. The Planning Commission, has it always normally been 5 members, or has it at times been 7 or 9?
I'm not sure on that one.
So I can comment from a little bit of history, having looked back to see what the past process was that previous administrations have used. We do mirror that. As far back as I went, which was, a good 10 years, it's been 5. But by the ORS, we do have the option of 5, 7, or 9.
And at this point, we're happy to have 5.
Okay.
Well, I move to approve the appointment of Gib Wilkins to the Gilliam County Planning Commission effective January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2024.
I'll second that.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the appointment of Gib Wilkins to the Gilliam County Planning Commission effective January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2024. Is there further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you. We will contact the planning director and let her know.
So for follow-up on the process, is that something that maybe Lisa can help sort of marshal with some of our, some of the different departments. So like BOPTA, for instance, is under Ellen's.
Right.
And so I'm wondering if maybe Lisa can help coordinate that and we can maybe start that process.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that you wanted some other processes to negotiate, didn't you, Lisa? After all those other policies.
Sorry, for some reason my audio is breaking up, but
Yeah, you're breaking up for us.
I think you're asking me to sort of go ahead and do that across the gamut of commissions and committees. Is that correct?
That would be very helpful. Thank you.
Absolutely. You're welcome.
Okay, do we have announcements? Next meeting, Mr. Shannon?
What did you want?
Do you have any announcements or anything you'd like to share or?
There is, like I said, a North Central Public Health District Board meeting on the 12th at 4 o'clock that I'll be attending, I guess via Zoom. They haven't really said yet.
Probably.
And I'm meeting with Ron Wilson from the port tomorrow. Like I said, I've been getting on the Eastern Oregon County caucus calls for a while, and that's been very interesting. Also, I've been just sitting in on the legislative meeting. Use that on from AOC. So that's all I know at this point.
Good. Thank you for your work, Elizabeth.
I am just here basically feeding and sleeping and just taking care of a newborn, basically. So, but I am trying to engage with AOC a little bit here and there. And yeah, and I'm still on maternity leave until March, but I am going to try to engage here and there in meetings. And I really appreciate you running the meeting, Sherry. For people who are wondering why I'm not running the meeting, it's because I have a newborn that gets a little cranky if she's not fed on demand. So I wanted to make sure that I was not interfering with county business if she got hungry in the middle of the meeting.
I have that problem too, so I know where Ainsley's coming from. I get cranky when I'm hungry too. And as you can see, I don't go hungry very often. So I have NORCOR next Thursday. And as far as a January 20th meeting, at this point, we only have a few things that we will have on our agenda, but I believe we're going to go ahead with that to make sure that we're not letting business slide. So.
Yeah, I should note too, I should have mentioned that I think we're pretty close to having the building codes agreement done. So
great.
I'm hoping to get that sent over, and hopefully by the 20th we would be able to take that up. But we'll see. There's a few final details that we're working out with the city of Boardman.
Good. Do we have anything else? Does anyone else have any comments or questions?
I do not.
Okay. And that being said, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.